Alex Eala is 21 years old. Weeks ago, she won her first ever WTA Tour singles title in Washington, D.C. No player from the Philippines had ever done that in the full history of the sport. She now sits at a career-high ranking of number 20 in the world, and she walked into Cincinnati seated 17th, her best seeding yet at this level. This is not a small story about an unknown player getting lucky. This is one of the fastest rising stars in tennis, walking into one of the biggest tournaments on the calendar. Just days before Cincinnati, Eala played in Toronto at the National Bank Open. The stadium there, Sobeys Stadium, holds 12,500 people. It sold out. Fans were turned away. Organizers were caught off guard and added a Filipino dish to the menu because so many fans showed up early just to watch her practice. One tournament staff member said they had never seen a crowd like this so early, saying it is usually a couple hundred fans, but this was thousands. That crowd makes sense on paper. The Greater Toronto Area is home to more than 270,000 people of Filipino descent, one of the largest Filipino communities outside the Philippines itself. A big population explains a big crowd. Simple math. Cincinnati breaks that math completely. The city has only about 2,000 Filipino residents. Even the whole state of Ohio only reaches close to 17,000. That is still nowhere near the size of the Toronto community, yet the same scene is expected to repeat. Flags, chanting, a stadium bracing to fill up. Something outside of population is driving this, and once that gap is understood, the whole story changes. Here is the part most people miss. Eala lost in Toronto. Straight sets, in the second round. The stadium was still packed. Fans still showed up loud and proud. That means the crowd was never really about the scoreboard. It was about being present for a player who represents something bigger than one match result. That pattern is the real clue hiding behind every number in this story. In Washington, D.C., after Eala won her first title, the president of the Philippines personally hosted a reception to celebrate her. That is not a local fan club throwing a party. That is national recognition at the highest level of government for a tennis match played thousands of miles from home. Support like that does not follow state lines or census counts. Eala herself has talked about her schedule getting busier. Not with practice, but with requests from fans and media. She has described the feeling of playing in front of a crowd that loud as something she carries with her long after the match ends. Those are not throwaway comments. They are confirmation from the one person actually living this that something bigger than a hometown fan base has been building around her, city after city.
Oh, yes.
Alex Eala just beat a six-time Grand Slam champion on center court, and the way she did it is stranger than the scoreline. On July 4, 2026, Alexandra Eala walked out at Wimbledon ranked world No. 29, drawn against defending champion Iga Swiatek, the No. 3 seed with 6 Grand Slam titles to her name. Nobody expected a contest. Eala's own serve barely breaks club rally speed. First serves landing around 86 miles per hour compared to Swiatek's 102. On paper, this was a mismatch. 2 hours and 14 minutes later, Eala was on her knees in tears, and Swiatek was walking off center court eliminated in the third round. The first set alone lasted 84 minutes, one of the longest and best of the entire tournament. Eala fell behind early, clawed back, and pushed all the way to a set point at 5-3 that Swiatek somehow saved. It went to a tiebreak. At 4-2 down in that tiebreak, Swiatek cracked, throwing her racket into her own bag right there on center court. The defending champion visibly losing her composure in front of a full crowd. Eala saved 2 set points and closed the tiebreak 7-6. She never let go in the second set, racing through at 6-2 while Swiatek's game came apart around a string of unforced errors and double faults. 5 double faults across the whole match. Here's what actually decided it, and it didn't come from a coach or an analyst. It came from Swiatek herself in her own press conference. She said the slow second serve was mentally tougher to face than a fast one, because she knew exactly how it would arrive, and still couldn't find rhythm off it. That's the twist worth building the whole video around. The serve everyone calls Eala's weakness, the one running roughly 20 miles an hour slower than tour average, is the exact shot that dismantled a Grand Slam champion. It wasn't power that beat Swiatek, it was timing and disguise. Since her run in Miami in 2025, Eala has built one of the best second-serve returns on the entire WTA Tour. And she can send it anywhere. Down the line, cross-court, inside out, inside in, off both wings. This wasn't the first time these two had met. 16 months earlier, in Miami, a far less experienced Eala beat Swiatek in straight sets, a result that barely made headlines outside tennis circles at the time. Wimbledon wasn't the surprise, it was the confirmation. And it mattered beyond the scoreboard. Eala became the first Filipina to reach the second week of a Grand Slam, and the first player from the Philippines, period, to get this deep into a major. There's no academy pipeline back home, no prior generation to point to, just Eala, her brother, and her grandfather running drills after school years before anyone outside the Philippines knew her name. On court afterward, still catching her breath, she said the win meant something she could barely put into words, that for someone like Eala, Alexandra Eala just broke a record no one saw coming. She lost a tennis match at Wimbledon, and her rankings still climbed to a career high days later. That is not a typo. Fans online could not explain it at first. This is the real story behind how a 21-year-old from the Philippines rewrote her country's tennis history, and why losing actually helped her. To understand how strange this is, you have to go back a few weeks before Wimbledon even started. While the big names in tennis got most of the headlines, Eala was working through smaller tournaments most fans were not watching. She played event after event on grass, a surface she had barely touched before this year. That grind led to a strong run in Berlin, where she made it all the way to the semifinal before losing. That single result was enough to push her ranking into the 20s for the first time in her career. The timing mattered. Wimbledon locks in its seeding based on rankings from late June. Because her Berlin run landed right before that cutoff, she walked into Wimbledon as the 29th seed. For a player who had spent most of her career fighting to crack the top 100, that was massive. 1 year earlier, her Wimbledon had ended in the first round. This time, she came back with a title in Birmingham already in hand and one of the best grass court records on tour.